The wind screamed across the Ural Mountains, howling like a beast denied of prey. Beneath the twilight sky of January 1959, 9 young hikers, students and graduates of the Ural Polytechnic Institute, trudged through the snow, unaware they were walking into history's most chilling enigma. Their leader, Igor Dyatlov, carried the air of certainty. His compass was steady, his map studied, and his determination unshakable. They were experienced mountaineers, each with tales of previous expeditions etched in their diaries and worn boots. But this journey, this route through the now infamous Kholat Syakho, Mountain of the Dead, would not be conquered. Their journey began as all adventures do, with laughter and songs around the fire, frostbitten cheeks kissed by the glow of camaraderie. They documented every step, photographs, journal entries, route charts. On the surface, it was another proud feat of Soviet youth. Beneath it, something darker stirred. As they ascended deeper into the mountains, the weather turned cruel. Visibility dropped, winds lashed, and snow covered their path like a burial shroud. On February 1st, they pitched their final camp on the eastern slope of the mountain, a flat area, exposed. No one knows why they didn't descend to the forest for shelter. Was it a mistake? Or was something, someone, watching? That night, the snow was still. And then, silence was shattered. Their tent was later found slashed from the inside, its walls torn as though they'd been clawed by desperate hands. No signs of an intruder, no blood. Just bare footprints, some in socks, others barefoot, leading into the darkness, into temperatures of -30 degrees, into death. They ran from something, but what? Some would say panic, others whisper of radiation. Some claim military testing, others darker theories of something not human. All that remains are frozen bodies scattered in strange poses, and questions. So many questions. But the story doesn't end there. It begins here. When the search party arrived on February 26th, 25 days after the hikers vanished, they weren't prepared for what they would find. The tent, collapsed and half buried in snow, was the first sign. It lay eerily still, its canvas flapping softly in the wind. Investigators noted the cuts, sliced from the inside, as though the group had clawed their way out in panic. Their boots, coats, and equipment were left behind. Whatever had driven them out, they hadn't had time to prepare. They'd fled into the Siberian wilderness, half naked. 2 bodies were found first. Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko lay under a pine tree, stripped to their underwear, their fingers raw, splinters embedded deep into their skin. Evidence suggested they had tried to climb the tree, perhaps in a last desperate attempt to escape, or to see something approaching the tent. Beneath them, the snow was trampled, branches broken, but there were no signs of an attacker, only cold and fear. 3 more bodies were found between the pine and the tent. Dyatlov himself, slumped on his back, one arm stretched toward the tent, like he had tried to return. Zinaida Kolmogorova, a trail of blood frozen beneath her nose. Rustam Slobodin, a fractured skull, but no visible external trauma. Hypothermia, they said, exposure. But then they found the others. It took 2 more months. Buried under 4 meters of snow, In a ravine deeper into the forest lay the remaining 4 hikers. And the mystery grew darker. Lyudmila Dubinina had no tongue, no eyes. Her lips were missing. Yet there was no blood in the snow, no indication of violence, almost surgical, as if time itself had stripped her face. Nikolai Thibault-Brignol had a massive skull fracture, something no fall could explain. Alexander Kolovatov's body showed signs of intense pressure, like he'd been crushed. And Semyon Zolotaryov was found with broken ribs, but a peaceful expression on his face, clutching a pen and a notebook he never had time to write in. Their clothing was laced with radiation. The forest, once still, now pulsed with questions. How could these young, strong hikers suffer such bizarre injuries in the absence of external trauma? Why did some of them have their clothes removed, then passed between bodies, as if someone had died first and the others scavenged? Why did they run? From what? Locals whispered of creatures in the mountains, of glowing orbs spotted in the sky that week. Some said the hikers had disturbed something sacred, something that had been waiting, silent, in the snow. The investigation closed quickly. A compelling natural force, the report concluded. No one ever explained what that force was. The case was buried, but the mountain never forgot, and neither did the families or the wind that still howls through Dyatlov Pass. In the months following the recovery of the bodies, the case of the Dyatlov group twisted into something darker than mere tragedy. It became a riddle carved into ice and blood, and every answer only deepened the questions. The official report was brief and vague. The cause of death? A compelling natural force. Those 4 words ignited an inferno of speculation, because there was nothing natural about what they found. Theory 1. Avalanche. Authorities pushed this explanation first. A sudden wall of snow, they said, collapsed onto the tent, forcing the hikers to flee. But avalanche experts pointed out the flaws. The tent remained partially standing, the slope was too shallow, the injuries, some hikers with fractured skulls and ribs, others untouched, didn't match typical avalanche trauma. Most damning of all, if there had been an avalanche, the footprints would have been swept away. But the trail was still visible. 9 sets of footsteps, walking calmly, almost in single file, away from the tent. So if it wasn't nature, then what was it? Theory 2. Military experiment. Some believe the group wandered into a secret test site. Soviet authorities, desperate to maintain secrecy, silenced them. The evidence? Radiation on the clothes, the strange orange hue of the victim's skin, the missing tongue and eyes, perhaps consumed by wildlife, or perhaps not. Witnesses reported strange lights in the sky, floating orbs, silent and hovering, near the night of the incident. Were they victims of weapons? Chemical agents? An explosion without heat? A blast that crushed without tearing? Some point to classified documents, pages redacted in thick black ink. The way the case was closed, then reopened decades later, only to be closed again. What were they trying to bury? Theory 3. Paradoxical undressing. This one is colder, literally. Hypothermia can cause hallucinations and a false sensation of heat, leading victims to remove their clothing. But that didn't explain why some of the hikers had major internal injuries, or why their clothes were carefully passed between them, indicating rational thought. Someone had removed Dubinina's pants and given them to another. That's not a sign of madness. That's survival. And then there was the tent, sliced open from the inside. They hadn't unzipped it. They'd torn through it, panicked, frantic, like something had entered, or like something was coming. Theory 4. Infrasound. A more recent theory proposes wind whipping around the Kolatsiacho mountain created infrasound, low-frequency vibrations humans can't hear but can feel. These waves could trigger panic, paranoia, hallucinations. It might explain why they fled the tent, but not the crushed bones, not the radiation, not the missing tongue. No theory could explain everything, not even the final one. Theory 5. Something not of this world. Among the files are reports from nearby hikers, hunters, and even soldiers who spoke of lights in the sky, glowing spheres, a humming in the air, strange burns on trees. The Mansi, the indigenous people of the region, avoided Kolatsiacho. They called it the Mountain of the Dead, not because of the Dyatlov group, but long before. They said spirits guarded it, and those spirits did not forgive trespass. Was it something ancient, something buried beneath snow and silence, stirred awake by firelight and laughter? Or did something descend from above? The diary entries of the hikers held no sign of fear. Their last notes were calm, playful. They had no idea what was coming. But someone did. A final, chilling detail. In one of the last photos found on their camera, a blurry shape, tall, dark, and distant, stands between the trees. Some say it was another hiker. Some say it wasn't human at all. In the decades since, more than 70 theories have been proposed. None hold, none satisfy. The pass was renamed for Dyatlov. Memorials were erected, but the mountain remains. Still, cold, watching. Every winter the wind returns, and every winter it howls like a voice trying to speak, a message locked in ice. 9 lives, 9 deaths, no answers, only silence and snow and the eternal question, what really happened on that mountain? For decades, the Dyatlov Pass remained a graveyard of theories, haunted not just by the 9 souls lost, but by the voices that were silenced. Yet, not everyone stopped asking questions. In the late 1990s, a retired investigator named Anatoly Gushin reopened the case unofficially. He was a man obsessed, a ghost hunter in a country that had no room for ghosts. He gathered all he could, declassified documents, autopsy reports, photographs, and interview transcripts long thought buried. What he found disturbed him more than the original mystery: the corruption of the reports. Many original autopsy files had vanished. Others were edited, entire pages redacted or retyped with discrepancies, conflicting timelines, swapped names, changed injuries. Some reports claim the hikers had no external wounds. Others clearly described massive internal trauma similar to car accidents. Dubinina's missing tongue? In some versions, it was torn out. In others, cleanly cut. The deeper Gushin looked, the more the paper trail turned to smoke. Who had the power to alter official records? Survivors that weren't there. There was one man who had been supposed to go with the group but stayed behind due to illness, Yuri Yudin, the sole survivor. When interviewed years later, Yudin wept as he recalled his friends. but one quote always struck listeners. "If I had gone with them, I would have died too. Or maybe I would have seen what they saw." In his final interviews before his death, Yudin claimed he no longer believed the avalanche theory. He whispered that the government knew, that we were just students, but someone else was watching us up there. He never clarified who someone was. He died in 2013. His final diary vanished from his home. The 2008 photo leak. In a forum of Russian hikers, an anonymous user posted a photo never seen before, allegedly from the Dyatlov group's recovered roll of film. It showed a dimly lit figure, half shrouded in fog, walking toward the tent at night. Its proportions were off, its arms too long, legs too thin, no face. The post was taken down hours later, the user's account deleted, but the image spread like wildfire. Some called it fake. Others whispered, "That's what they saw." The 2019 investigation. Facing public pressure, Russian authorities reopened the case officially. But once again, the conclusion was clinical: hypothermia, caused by a slab avalanche. They cited snow displacement and poor visibility. Few believed them, because they hadn't explained the mutilations, the radiation, the sounds heard by nearby Mansi hunters that night, described as metal screaming across the sky. The lights. The truth, it seemed, was not buried under snow. It was buried under lies. The whispering wind. Locals say that on certain nights, if you camp near Kolatsyakel, you can still hear them. Footsteps in the snow with no source. A tent zipper that slowly opens itself. And sometimes, whispering. In Russian. In pain. One American filmmaker who visited the site claimed to have seen shadows move across the snow. He left after one night. He never released his footage. When asked why, he only said, "There's something wrong with that place. It doesn't want to be understood." The final clue. In 2021, an amateur researcher found something strange, buried within an old military transmission log. A record of a classified aerial object over the region the night of the incident. No further details, no origin, no flight plan. Just one word stamped in red. Neizvestno, unknown. Was that what the Dyatlov group saw before they fled into the cold? Was it watching them before they ever knew? Winter 2024. An American documentarian named Lena Brooks embarks on a solo expedition to the Dyatlov Pass. She's driven not by thrill or fame, but by a personal obsession. Her grandfather, a Cold War-era radio operator stationed in Siberia, once intercepted a signal the night the hikers died. He never spoke of it again, except in his final letter, mailed to Lena 2 weeks before his death. Whatever they saw, it's still there. Don't listen. Don't follow the voices. She ignored his warning. Day 1. Lena treks through the snow with satellite equipment, a drone, and a diary filled with every known detail about the Dyatlov expedition. The air is thin, the quiet, unnatural, like the mountain is listening. She sets up camp at the exact site where the hikers pitched their final tent. That night, her motion sensor cameras pick up movement. No animals. No wind, just a figure, tall, slender, standing just at the edge of the tree line. She goes outside. No footprints in the snow. Day 2. Her GPS malfunctions. Her compass spins. The temperature drops rapidly, far beyond what the forecast predicted. She finds pieces of metal embedded in the ground, twisted fragments marked with Cyrillic codes, burnt, blackened. She's not the first to find them, but no one has ever explained what they were. That night, she dreams of screams in Russian and of 9 faces staring at her from the tent opening, eyes wide, mouths frozen open. Day 3. Her audio recorder begins picking up whispers. At first, just static. Then, run. They're watching again. Don't trust the sky. At 3:33 a.m., her thermal camera catches a burst of heat, a presence, moving across the snow toward her tent, fast. She opens the flap. No one is there, but the snow beneath her feet is warm. The truth unburied. Lena finds a buried notebook, water-damaged, torn, but legible. It's Dyatlov's. One final entry never released in any public records. There is something above us. It doesn't make sound, but we all feel it. We're not alone. Zenaida screamed in her sleep, said she saw her own death outside the tent. Tonight, we sleep in shifts. If we make it through, we must never speak of what we saw. That night, they didn't make it. The sky cracks open. Lena's drone, hovering overhead, captures something descending. Not a craft, not a creature. A void, a tearing in the sky, as if the stars themselves had been peeled back, revealing a pulsing dark beneath. The snow beneath her glows blue. Her skin burns cold. She doesn't run. She records. The final message. The footage ends abruptly. All that remains is her last audio file, sent automatically through satellite relay. I see it now. I see what they saw. It's not from here. It wants memory. It feeds on fear, on curiosity. Don't come looking. Please, don't. Then static. 1 year later, a Russian rescue team finds her equipment, frozen solid. No body, but in the snow, carved crudely by hand, are 3 words, scorched into the ice. Still here, listening. The Dyatlov Pass Incident remains officially unsolved. But for those who dare to look deeper, beyond the snow and silence, a different truth. Some places are meant to be forgotten. Some questions never asked. Because not everything that waits in the dark wants to stay hidden.